Hello everyone, LooneyFarmGuy here, and today in this video we're going to attempt to change these. What are these? Well, these are the brake pads for my e-bike, and well, I was doing a little maintenance a couple of weeks ago because my rear brakes were a bit soft, and I discovered that these little fellas were worn down quite badly. So today we'll be attempting at least to change those. And so first of all, before we get into it, we're going to show you a little bit of my setup here that I have made to work on my bike. And so it's a bit of a homemade project, but it works. So let's go take a look at that. All right, so here we are. First of all, a quick look at my bike again. It's a Giant Explorer e-bike. I have removed the battery for precautionary measures. Not that it would spontaneously turn on or anything, but just to reduce any possibility of damaging something. We have done that. So the culprit here is this little fella down here. Now this is where the disc brake pads live, and they're fairly very simple operationally and very simple to remove, but you got to take the wheel off, disengage the chain, and a few other things. So let me see if I can position the camera there. Now these are hydraulic brakes. I'm going to press on the brake handle, and as you can see, there's two little calipers that press, cylinders that press against the disc itself. And those pads, it's very hard to see, but you can kind of see them there, have worn down. We're going to take a look at them much closer, of course, once we get it out of the off the bike. Now this is a little stand I have kind of fashioned out of an old boat motor stand. So previously I had used this to mount a boat motor to test it out in a barrel of water, and since I've been doing more maintenance on my bike myself, I have made basically just did put a 2x4 with a brace, screwed it down, put another two. I can show you here a little bit, just a couple of 1x1 boards because it's thinner here, and because I have very limited space in between here, and I wanted it to be able to fit in here. So we're going to show you all that once it's set up, but this is kind of a bit of a homemade job. It works for me. So I'm going to hoist the bike up there, and then we're going to look at what items you're going to need to do this job. This is not necessarily a tutorial, but just something of interest to watch and see if I can mess it up, or how bad I can mess it up. All right, so before we actually get to removing the parts, the tire and the chain off the bike, as you can see here, it is nicely and quite securely attached here, at least so much. It does have a little bit of swing to it, but that's okay. For this purpose of what I'm going to do today, won't need a whole lot of effort, I hope anyways. So what do we need for this job? Well, of course, we have the brake pads themselves. Now these are specific to the this type of bike, and the reason I know these should be the correct ones, as I had them off, like I said, and I went back to where I bought the bike, and they said this should be the ones. So let's hope these are the right ones. Now we have a small retractable knife to cut open the package. We also have a pair of needle nose pliers. These have been with me a very long time. Snap-on, and I also have another smaller set of needle nose pliers with the spring action that I might need, and also a very teeny tiny pry bar for perhaps if I have to push back the pistons a little bit once I get the new pads on there, or before I get the new pads on there. And also a little bit of brake clean, just to clean things up a little bit, make sure the surfaces are very clean, because you don't want any oils or foreign materials on the disc or the brake pads or anything. Otherwise you will compromise the stopping power of your brake pads, so which is not good when when you're riding on one of these. So let me get this camera set up to a nice position where you can see what I'm doing, and we'll get started. All right, so the first thing we're going to want to do is remove this wheel. So I have engaged a higher gear so that the chain will be actually longer, in order for me to be able to unchain or get the chain off the sprockets there, in order to let us remove this wheel. And this is one of those quick release type wheels where it's on there pretty tight. There we go. And as you can see, it's already come loose, and it actually there's a notch at the bottom, and she just slides out. Now, one of the things that there's a nut on the other end, and we're already detached. However, it's still attached to the chain. And what I have discovered is actually just completely unscrewing this shaft altogether will kind of make it a little easier to get it on and off. So we're going to put this aside, and now we're going to attempt to unhook that chain without making a huge mess. I got a rag because the chain will be quite greasy. And if we just take a little bit of wiggling and woggling, because of course it's going to be difficult, because there we go. One last there. Come on, let go. There. And now we have our wheel out. So here is the disc. Now you want to make sure that's very attached very firmly. We have the axle here. Actually, the axle's really tight, so I think I'm going to loosen that up a little bit. It was a little bit loose before, but now it's really hard to turn, so I tightened it up too much. So we're going to take a look at that a little bit later once we go to put it back on. But now we can set this aside. And take a closer look at our disc brake. So now we can get a little better look at those disc brakes, and I'm going to point out right here, you can see here is our disc brake. So we got two of them, and one of them here, as you can see, the piston is out quite a bit. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go around to the other side, and sorry about the fingers, that's the wrong spot. There we go. Now here is a little cotter pin that goes through the top part and holds the whole thing in place. So we're going to let's try and set up the camera and see if I can show you me doing that. All right, so I'm going to attempt to remove this without bumping anything too terribly much. Farm Dog Max wants to participate. So what we do here is bend back this little cotter pin as best as I can, which is super awkward for camera. There we go. Gotta grab onto that. This is much more difficult than it should be when you're filming. Right, there we go. Come on. Come on, little fella. It shouldn't be that hard. There we go. And once it's relatively straight, you can see it's already moving. And let's see if we can get that out of there. I think I might have put it in too good last time. It was much easier to take out the first time. Perhaps I shouldn't have bent it quite so much. There we go. Right. Let's get back in focus. There's our little cotter pin. We want to save that. Straighten that out a little bit so we can get it back in without any fuss and or muss. There. Right, so now to the fun part, because I'm just going to put this cotter pin down on the table here, and these just slide out like this, and there we go. So if we look at them now, let's move the camera back a little bit and really get a close look at these. So there's actually, it comes with actually a little spring type mechanism to keep them apart when the brake is not depressed, no longer depressed. And let's see if we can see. These are quite worn down. This one not so much as, well, this one. As you can see, the edge here is quite worn. So what I'm going to do now is open the new package and we can compare the two pads. All right, so here we are, side-by-side comparison, these being the old pads and obviously very well used. These being the new ones, obviously with much more stopping power stuff on there. Oh yes, if you're wondering how much they were, this is in Canada. I bought them at Olympic Cycle and Ski. I'm not sponsored by them. I paid for these with my own hard-earned money. And as it says, extra power and durability for e-bikes. Now this isn't the same brand as what was on there. However, they are nearly identical, at least in size, shape. So we're going to get these put on. However, there is a couple of things we need to do before we do that. We need to take a look at our calipers there, and we need to go, whoops, fingers out of the way, fingers, and we just gently, very gently, I can't see what I'm doing, push that piston back in. I can see what I'm doing. would be nice. There we go. Just ever so gently push that back in. Could even probably do it by hand. It's quite small area there. Of course, it never cooperate. There we go. If you have plastic pistons, you're going to want to be extra careful. I got something in my way here. There we go. So hopefully you can see that. You want to push them all the way back in. Very nice. If you notice they're dirty, you can give it a squirt of brake clean just to kind of clear out any foreign material, oil, grease, or what so have you in there. Brake clean's nice because it dries up very quickly, doesn't leave a residue. We'll let that dry for a minute and then we'll slide the new pads in there. So now actually comes the easy part, and we have our pad assembly here. Oh, of course I have dislodged it. You want to make sure that you have those springs properly lined up in there, and what you're going to do is take your pads and hopefully, oh, see, I've already messed it up. It's hard to do this with one hand. Much easier with two hands. I'll give this one more attempt, and there we go. If that doesn't work, I'll have to okay. No, oh, there it is. Okay, sorry about that. Trying to get it all fit in there nicely. So there you go. They should fit in all nicely. That spring piece should be lined up just right, and it looks like it is. And now if we swing around to the other side, and where is it? There it is. The cotter pin should, yes, so the cotter pin has gone all the way through, and hopefully we can focus. Focus. Right. So there we have it. That should be it. So what we're actually going to do next is, hold on there, focus, there we go, is we're going to address me over tightening this fingers again. Over tightening my fingers. Over tightening this piece right there, because it's kind of very stiff, and I did notice something riding that it was a little bit noisy. That's really bad for your bearings, so we're going to loosen that up just a tad, and I'm going to show you how I do that. All right, so this is a bit awkward. However, I'm going to need to use two hands for this, because there's an inner, the inner shaft, which has a very narrow slots to put a wrench on, and we have an outer nut to lock that in place. So what I have here is just a tool that I had for something else, but it actually fits in there very nicely, and a 17mm socket or ratchet wrench. Yes, it's called a wrench. And what I'm going to do is hold this one firm and loosen that up a bit. Now it's loose, but that still hasn't loosened the whole shaft. What I have to do now is hold this and get onto the outside one. There's another bolt on this other side, this size, and now we can release the pressure on that where it is. You want it to move freely, but not too tight where it's binding and it's causing it's over tightening, because it's going to be squeezing that bearing and making it much harder for it to roll, and you will actually prematurely destroy that bearing if you do that for too long. And then we tighten that back up. So we're just going to take a little spin here, and now that really crunchy, hard turning has gone away, and it's I may have actually damaged the bearing in there a little bit, but now it is actually turning freer or freely. And we just want to make sure that this is now tight, because you don't want this coming loose. This is the locking nut there, and now we're free. But you don't want it, there's just the tiniest little play in there, and I think I'll have to live with that, because any tighter than that and it's going to be too tight. So that's that part. Now we have to get it back on the bike. So let me reposition this camera, and we'll get that done. All right, so hopefully you can see well from there, and hopefully I can get this tire back on there without too much trouble, or maybe it'll make for a good video because I'll screw something up badly. But what we're going to want to do here is get this chain on here, like like so, which should be relatively easy. However, we got to get up in here, so that's going to mean we got to get up in here like this, making sure our wheel and our disc, making sure the disc does not damage the brand new brakes we put in there, and getting the shaft slid up into position. And now sliding our shaft through to the other side, attach our bolt, screwing it on, making sure it's up and snug, and tightening, making sure it's snug up to there. Okay, so I think we got it mostly. We're going to need to tighten this up a little bit more. So what I like to do is actually put it back down on the ground when I tighten that, so make sure this tire is all the way up into those channels. All right, so hopefully this is it. We're going to loosen this off again, make sure the bike is well seated, and this wheel is all the way up as far as it can go. And we're going to give it a couple of turns, maybe half a turn, and lock that down and see if that's so. It seems like we have it fixed now. So actually what I'm going to do now is going to put it back up. I think that's tight enough. Just going to give it one half a turn more. Quarter, not even half, quarter turn. Lock that down. Now there's the tiniest bit of play in here, but I think I'm going to have to live with that. But as I spin it, you want to make sure that there's no wobble in the tire, there's no wobble in the disc itself. Right, so let's put it back up on the stand and test out the brake. All right, so here we go. Now the first thing you want to do is run it through the gears. Make sure those are not misaligned, binding. So pretty much they sound okay. So now I'm going to give the brakes a try. Rear brake applied. Ooh, very nice. Now you might have to pump them. I have hydraulic brakes on this, so you might have to pump them, but this feels really good. They are grabbing really nice, really firm feel, and stopping really good. The real test is gonna be when I get this puppy on the road. So there you have it. There is my little bike repair video. I am not a bike repair mechanic. I'm not a bike repair expert by any means. This is specific. Your bike may be different. However, hopefully I have shown you a few things, or just enjoy the video. If you have enjoyed the video, please give a like. And yeah, thanks for watching. Before I go, remember, do what you love what you do. Till next time, bye for now.